Commander Evelyn Cross sat in the dimly lit command center aboard the flagship Ascendant, staring at the holographic display before her. A map of the galaxy, flickering with the path of the Thian Empire's fleet, glowed ominously. The distant stars were now more than just points of light, they were markers in a war that was about to ravage the galaxy. The Thian Empire, led by the ruthless Raxus, had made their demands clear. Submit to their will or face annihilation. The fate of Earth, humanity's cradle, was hanging in the balance. However, Evelyn Cross, a symbol of humanity's strength, remained unshaken. As the commander of the United Earth Coalition's fleet, she had seen her people through worse. Much worse. I trust you've all read the latest reports. Evelyn's voice was calm, but it carried the weight of authority. The Thian Empire's fleet is en route, but we will not bow to them. Humanity has fought, bled, and conquered in ways no other empire can comprehend. Commander Evelyn Cross sat in the dimly lit command center aboard the flagship Ascendant, staring at the holographic display before her. A map of the galaxy, flickering with the path of the Thian Empire's fleet, glowed ominously. The distant stars were now more than just points of light, they were markers in a war that was about to ravage the galaxy. The Thian Empire, led by the ruthless Raxus, had made their demands clear. Submit to their will or face annihilation. The fate of Earth, humanity's cradle, was hanging in the balance. However, Evelyn Cross, a symbol of humanity's strength, remained unshaken. As the commander of the United Earth Coalition's fleet, she had seen her people through worse. Much worse. I trust you've all read the latest reports. Evelyn's voice was calm, but it carried the weight of authority. The Thian Empire's fleet is en route, but we will not bow to them. Humanity has fought, bled, and conquered in ways no other empire can comprehend. They'll see that soon enough. Her team, scientists, diplomats, strategists, and soldiers, watched her intently. Her unflinching gaze spoke volumes. To most, humanity was the idealistic race, peaceful and naive. But Evelyn and her people knew that humanity had something far more dangerous than power. They had resilience, adaptability, and an unyielding spirit to survive. The Thian fleet size is staggering, but we don't fight like they do, Evelyn continued, her voice cutting through the tension. We will outsmart them. We will adapt. We will survive. The room fell into a heavy silence. Evelyn was right, of course. Humanity had faced down threats before, be they extraterrestrial or interdimensional, and had come out stronger each time. But the Thian Empire was something else entirely. Their fleets were vast, their technology advanced, and their cruelty unmatched. The command center's lights flickered as an alert sounded. Commander Cross, the first of the Thian ships has entered our solar system, a young officer reported, his voice cracking with apprehension. They're preparing for a full assault. Evelyn nodded, turning back to the hologram, the light from the map reflecting off her face. Then it's time we give them a demonstration of what humanity is capable of. But behind her calm exterior, Evelyn knew something her enemies didn't. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its fleets or its technology, it was its heart. And its ability to turn its enemies' greatest strengths into their weaknesses. Across the galaxy, Mark Zuckerberg, now the supreme reptilian overlord, or so the galaxy's inhabitants thought, sat in his darkened chambers aboard the Imperial ship Zevin. His reptilian form loomed over the galaxy map, his cold eyes narrowing as he watched humanity's every move. Mark Zuckerberg had long since abandoned the guise of the peaceful human CEO. Underneath his carefully constructed public persona, a far darker truth had emerged. The public knew him as the man who built the social network that connected billions of lives. But the truth? Zuckerberg was something far more powerful. He was a reptilian, one of the leaders of an ancient reptoid species that had manipulated and controlled galactic affairs for millennia. Mark had mastered the art of diplomacy, using his charisma and the vast resources of his empire to spread the influence of the Thian Empire, his home. But now, for the first time, he was encountering resistance, a form of resistance that he hadn't anticipated. Humanity, the so-called peacekeepers of the galaxy, had become more than just a nuisance. They were threatening the delicate balance of power he had so carefully cultivated. Mark, the fleet is ready to strike, his advisor, Zontair, whispered, bowing low before him. The humans refused to kneel. Zuckerberg's gaze remained fixed on the screen, his fingers lightly tapping the surface of the galactic map. They think they can outsmart us. They think they can win with their pathetic little tactics. We'll crush them, he muttered under his breath. But even as he spoke the words, a gnawing feeling tugged at the back of his mind. There was something about the humans he didn't fully understand. They were relentless, and they had a way of defying odds. He had seen it in the way they had united under the leadership of people like Evelyn Cross, how they had become a force to be reckoned with. I'll deal with this personally, Zuckerberg decided, a cold, calculating smile crossing his reptilian face. Prepare the fleet. Prepare the attack. But leave Earth to me. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Evelyn Cross was preparing for the ultimate confrontation. The Thian Empire might be a force to be reckoned with, but humanity had never been afraid of a fight. They would defend their world, no matter the cost. The Ascendant hung motionless in the orbit of Earth, its sleek hull gleaming in the pale light of the distant sun. Inside, the crew was in full preparation mode. The tension was palpable, but Evelyn Cross was as calm as ever, her mind racing through countless scenarios, calculating each move before it even happened. She'd seen what the Thian Empire was capable of, but she also knew that humanity had one advantage they didn't have: unpredictability. Status report, Evelyn commanded, her eyes narrowing as the feed from the forward sensor array flickered onto the screen. Commander, we've detected multiple Thian warships entering the Earth system, came the reply from Lieutenant Harker, the ship's tactical officer. Their ships are powered by unstable dark matter, but their sheer numbers could overwhelm us if we aren't careful. Evelyn thought for a moment. The Thian Empire's ships were formidable, but there was something that humans did better than anyone in the galaxy: improvise. The Ascendant hung motionless in the orbit of Earth, its sleek hull gleaming in the pale light of the distant sun. Inside, the crew was in full preparation mode. The tension was palpable, but Evelyn Cross was as calm as ever, her mind racing through countless scenarios, calculating each move before it even happened. She'd seen what the Thian Empire was capable of, but she also knew that humanity had one advantage they didn't have: unpredictability. Status report, Evelyn commanded, her eyes narrowing as the feed from the forward sensor array flickered onto the screen. Commander, we've detected multiple Thian warships entering the Earth system, came the reply from Lieutenant Harker, the ship's tactical officer. Their ships are powered by unstable dark matter, but their sheer numbers could overwhelm us if we aren't careful. Evelyn thought for a moment. The Thian Empire's ships were formidable, but there was something that humans did better than anyone in the galaxy: improvise. Have we encrypted their communication channels? She asked, her mind already processing how to turn this disadvantage into an opportunity. Yes, Commander. We've got access, Harker responded, eyes glued to his console. Excellent. Relay all data to our fleet. We're going to make them think they've won before we even fire a shot. The plan was simple yet deadly. The Thian fleet was far too powerful to face head-on in a direct engagement, but Evelyn had no intention of retreating. Instead, she would use the Thian's arrogance against them. The reptilian mindset, self-assured, controlling, and reliant on overwhelming force, was their greatest strength but also their fatal flaw. Meanwhile, aboard the Zevin, Mark Zuckerberg stood before the enormous viewing window, his reptilian eyes scanning the display of Earth below. His fleet was in position, ready to strike, and his military forces were eager to subdue the so-called resilient humans once and for all. It's almost time, Zuckerberg muttered, his voice echoing through the vast, metallic chamber. We'll break them. They've defied us for too long. Zuckerberg had studied humanity for years, and he knew the power they held, both their ability to unite in the face of danger and their stubborn refusal to bow to anyone, even in the face of annihilation. But what Mark didn't understand, what no one had ever fully understood, was that humanity's greatest strength was their relentless drive to protect their home, no matter the cost. As the Zevin moved into its attack position, a series of explosions rocked the outside of the ship. The initial shock was enough to shake Zuckerberg to his core, his hand gripping the rail in front of him as the ship's interior lights flickered. What the hell was that? He growled, his voice laced with frustration. The calm, calculating leader had suddenly been thrown off balance. On the Ascendant, Evelyn allowed herself a small smile as the first phase of her plan went into effect. She had hacked into the Thian fleet's communication systems and sent a false signal indicating that Earth's defense systems were far more advanced than they actually were. The Thians had responded as expected by launching a massive barrage of missiles, believing they could cripple humanity's defenses in one swift strike. But Evelyn knew the truth. Humanity's weapon wasn't its technology, not at the level the Thians had anticipated. Humanity's weapon was its adaptability, its ability to evolve when faced with the unknown. Evelyn had planted false data in the Thian fleet systems, showing that Earth's defenses were nearly impenetrable. The Thian Empire's overwhelming assault on Earth had been calculated to scare the humans into submission. Instead, it had caused a catastrophic overreaction that now worked in humanity's favor. Now, Evelyn whispered, her fingers flying over the command console. Activate the countermeasures. The massive solar arrays mounted on the Ascendant's hull flared to life, creating a burst of energy that jammed the Thian fleet's long-range weapons. The Thians, relying on their superior firepower, found themselves outmaneuvered, their strikes failing to connect with Earth's defenses. Zuckerberg's reptilian eyes narrowed as he watched his fleet's missiles miss their targets. This wasn't part of his plan. His empire had never been defeated, not in all its years of dominance. What's happening? Why aren't the missiles hitting their targets? Zuckerberg demanded, his sharp voice cutting through the tension in the room. Zontier, his most trusted advisor, leaned forward, his voice dripping with concern. It appears the humans have hacked into our systems. They've deployed countermeasures we didn't anticipate. Mark's face twisted into a grimace. How could the humans have anticipated this? They were supposed to be weak, pacifist creatures, easy to subdue. Yet here they were, outsmarting the greatest military force in the galaxy. We'll adapt, Zuckerberg hissed. Bring us closer. We'll engage them on the ground if we have to. Back on Earth, Commander Cross was preparing for Phase 2. She knew the Thians would be quick to adjust to the new tactics, but they hadn't counted on humanity's ability to move faster than they could think. As she watched the incoming data from Earth's surface, she saw the results of their plan beginning to unfold. The Thians are retreating to the atmosphere, Lieutenant Harker reported. They're preparing to engage directly with ground forces. They think they've worn us down. Evelyn crossed her arms, her gaze steely. Let them think that. We have one more surprise waiting for them. Below them, Earth's surface stirred as human forces, military and civilians alike, began to deploy in unison. For years, the human race had invested in creating the most efficient ground defenses, not out of fear, but out of understanding that they couldn't just rely on technology. They would fight not only with weapons, but with their ingenuity. Meanwhile, Mark Zuckerberg, though still furious, could not help but admire the resilience he was witnessing. The humans had somehow taken his immense superiority and turned it into a weakness. This was not a race of simple, docile creatures. They were clever, tenacious, and relentless in their pursuit of survival. With both sides preparing for the next step of the conflict, the true nature of the war began to reveal itself. It wasn't about military might. It was about control of willpower, of overcoming the mental and emotional boundaries that each side would push. It was about redefining the galaxy's perception of what it meant to be a victor. Mark Zuckerberg, despite his reptilian intellect and his empire's vast power, was about to learn just how terrifying a force humanity could be when pushed to its limits. The war had reached its boiling point. After weeks of subtle tricks, rapid technological advances, and humanity's fierce determination to protect their home, the battle for Earth had shifted in favor of the underdog. The Thian Empire had underestimated their enemy, assuming that the key to victory was sheer power. But now, as the Thian fleet hovered in Earth's orbit, it was clear they were facing something far more dangerous, an opponent that wouldn't break under pressure, no matter the cost. The Ascendant was the perfect symbol of humanity's resilience. The ship had survived countless assaults, both digital and physical, and it was now stationed in Earth's orbit, the last line of defense. Inside the command center, Commander Evelyn Cross stared at the latest data streaming in. Commander, our ground forces are ready. The Thians are pushing towards the atmosphere, preparing for a final descent. But something's off. They're not acting like they usually do, Lieutenant Harker reported, his voice tight with confusion. Evelyn's eyes narrowed. They're adapting faster than we thought. Their arrogance may have blinded them, but they won't make the same mistake twice. We need to act now. The Thian Empire had underestimated one fundamental aspect of the conflict. Humans didn't just fight for survival, they fought for something far deeper. They fought for their future, their children, and their home. The Thians were conquerors, but humans were protectors. Activate the final phase, Evelyn ordered. The plan had always been one of last resort, a weapon so advanced that it could potentially cripple the Thian fleet without leaving a trace of its origins. The human race had spent decades developing quantum phase-shifting technology, which had the potential to warp spacetime itself, creating a pocket of reality where nothing existed for a brief but devastating moment. On Earth's surface, the military forces had been preparing for the final showdown. Armed with humanity's most advanced weapons, they awaited the signal from the Ascendant. Across the world, cities once on the brink of devastation had now become fortified strongholds, ready to face the invaders head-on. From fighter jets to underground bunkers, humanity's coordinated response was unprecedented. Above them, the Thian fleet made its descent. The Zevin glided towards Earth with unnatural grace, its sleek, dark silhouette cutting through the atmosphere like a predator stalking its prey. Zuckerberg stood at the helm, his cold eyes locked on the blue planet below. Despite the chaos, there was a sense of finality to his movements, as if he had already claimed victory in his mind. Prepared to deploy ground forces, he hissed, his voice full of cold determination. It's time to take Earth. But as the Thians engaged their systems and prepared for planetary entry, a sudden shockwave rocked the Zevin, sending ripples through the entire fleet. The ship's sensors blared warnings, and the crew scrambled to understand what was happening. What's going on? Zuckerberg roared. His once composed exterior was now cracked with the intensity of panic. Commander, it appears a localized distortion in spacetime has occurred, Zontair, his advisor, reported. We're experiencing a field unlike anything we've ever seen. It's slowing our descent. We're being contained. Evelyn's voice rang clear through the command center of the Ascendant, her calm demeanor standing in stark contrast to the chaos in the Thian fleet. This is your final warning, Zuckerberg. Leave Earth now, or we will erase you from existence. The Ascendant had deployed its quantum phase shifter, creating a pocket of distorted reality that swallowed the Thian fleet whole. Within moments, the Zevin and the other Thian warships found themselves in an uncharted space, a bubble outside of the normal flow of time. It was a trap, one from which they could not escape. Zuckerberg's face twisted in disbelief. What is this? What have you done? We've done what you never thought possible, Evelyn responded coolly. We've outlasted you. And now, we're rewriting the rules. For the first time since the beginning of the war, Zuckerberg felt fear. He had underestimated humanity, and now it seemed he would pay the ultimate price. The pocket of warped space held the Thian fleet in stasis, trapping them in an endless loop outside of time. The Thians could not advance, nor could they retreat. They were frozen in place, their technology useless, their forces paralyzed. The very essence of their empire, their ability to dominate, was meaningless now. Zontair's voice shook with panic. Commander, we're being erased from existence. We can't even move. Our ships are frozen in time. What is this? Zuckerberg stood in stunned silence, his mind racing. The full weight of humanity's ingenuity bore down on him like a crushing force. It wasn't just that they had won the battle, it was that they had found a way to erase the very foundation of his power. On Earth, celebrations erupted. People gathered in the streets, their voices rising in a chorus of triumph. The Thians had been defeated, their invasion thwarted by the one force they had never anticipated, humanity's will to protect and survive. Commander Evelyn Cross stood before her crew, watching the data streams flash across the monitors. We've done it, she said, her voice filled with quiet pride. We've saved Earth. But despite their victory, Evelyn knew this was not the end. The Thian Empire had been stopped, but there were still greater challenges ahead. Humanity had learned an important lesson: never underestimate the enemy, but also never underestimate the power of unity. And for the Thians, the universe would never forget this lesson either. They had learned the hard way that even in the face of unimaginable power, there was always something more powerful, the determination of a species willing to fight for its survival. The battle for Earth had ended, but its effects rippled through the galaxy. News of humanity's unexpected victory spread like wildfire, reaching far-off corners of the universe. The Thian Empire had been stopped, but its legacy remained, a stark reminder of the dangers of arrogance. The Ascendant slowly orbited Earth, now a symbol of humanity's resilience and ingenuity. Commander Evelyn Cross and her crew had shown the galaxy that humanity would never give up, no matter the odds. As for Mark Zuckerberg, his fate remained uncertain. The Thian fleet, trapped in the quantum distortion, was a mystery to all. No one knew if they would ever return, if they ever even could. But one thing was certain, the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The battle was over. And Earth had won. Part 4, the dawn of a new era. As the remnants of the Thian fleet remained suspended in the quantum pocket, humanity took its first steps into an uncertain future. The battle for Earth had ended, but its effects rippled through the galaxy. News of humanity's unexpected victory spread like wildfire, reaching far-off corners of the universe. The Thian Empire had been stopped, but its legacy remained, a stark reminder of the dangers of arrogance. The Ascendant slowly orbited Earth, now a symbol of humanity's resilience and ingenuity. Commander Evelyn Cross and her crew had shown the galaxy that humanity would never give up, no matter the odds. As for Mark Zuckerberg, his fate remained uncertain. The Thian fleet, trapped in the quantum distortion, was a mystery to all. No one knew if they would ever return, if they ever even could. But one thing was certain, the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. The battle was over. And Earth had won. Part 4, the dawn of a new era. As the remnants of the Thian fleet remained suspended in the quantum pocket, humanity took its first steps into an uncertain future. The war had not just reshaped the planet, it had transformed the very essence of what it meant to be human. The victory was a hard-earned one, but it came at a cost. The world was now united by a common experience, yet fractured by the aftermath. Commander Evelyn Cross stood at the helm of the Ascendant, gazing out at Earth below. The once war-torn planet was now calm, but there was a sense of unease that lingered in the air. The victory had been absolute, but peace had yet to be fully realized. "We did it, Commander." "But what now?" Lieutenant Harker's voice broke through her thoughts. His tone was reflective, almost haunted. Evelyn exhaled slowly, still processing the weight of everything that had transpired. "Now we rebuild," she said, her gaze steady. "We rebuild not just our cities, but our way of thinking. The war may be over, but the real challenge has only just begun. We need to ensure this never happens again." The world had indeed united under the banner of survival, but there were deeper challenges ahead. The technologies that had been developed during the war were far more advanced than any civilization on Earth had ever dreamed of. Quantum phase shifters, artificial intelligence systems that could outthink even the most brilliant minds, and weapons of mass destruction capable of reshaping reality itself. Humanity now stood at the precipice of a new age, an age of innovation, but also of danger. News of the Thian fleet stasis spread rapidly across the globe. Governments, scientists, and military leaders all scrambled to comprehend the full extent of what had happened. The Ascendant's quantum technology was the key to humanity's victory, and now it was the key to their future. Evelyn met with a council of the world's leaders, each one representing a different part of Earth. They were assembled in the newly constructed Global Peace Forum, a towering structure built atop the ruins of a once-broken city. The building symbolized humanity's resolve, a testament to their commitment to never allow such destruction again. "The Thian fleet is in stasis," Evelyn began, addressing the council. "We know little about the effects this will have on them, but what we do know is this: we cannot allow the technology that brought us victory to be used for destruction. It must be safeguarded, controlled, even. The weapons we now possess are too dangerous to be left unchecked." The room fell silent as the weight of her words settled in. They had won the war, but the real battle was just beginning. How would humanity harness this newfound power without repeating the mistakes of the past? How would they balance progress with responsibility? "I agree," said Chancellor Liu, representing China. "We must regulate the use of these technologies, or we risk becoming the very thing we fought against." The Thian sought to control the universe, and in doing so, they destroyed themselves. "We must learn from that." "I've had similar thoughts," said President Taylor of the United States. "We've seen how fragile peace is." The Thian invasion wasn't just an attack on Earth, it was a wake-up call for the entire galaxy. "We may have defeated them, but there are others out there, waiting." The room buzzed with a mixture of concern and resolve. The humans at the table understood what was at stake, how fragile their victory was. The galaxy had been watching them, and Earth's actions would determine its future, not just as a planet, but as a symbol for all sentient life. At that moment, a voice broke through the tension. "The Thians are not the only threat we face," said Zantair, his once loyal advisor to Zuckerberg. He had been captured during the final moments of the Thian invasion and was now standing before the council, his hands bound. His sudden appearance shocked the room, but Evelyn was quick to assess the situation. Xantair's eyes were not those of an enemy. They were weary, broken, as though he had seen something that shook him to the core. "What do you mean?" Evelyn asked, her voice steady. Xantair hesitated, then spoke, his voice heavy with regret. The Thian Empire was only one part of a much larger web. There are factions, organizations in the galaxy that have been watching your planet for a long time. The Thians thought they could control you, but the truth is, Earth is not just another world. It's a key to something far more powerful, far more dangerous. And now, they'll come for you. The room went cold. The entire council leaned in, captivated by Xantair's words. "Explain yourself," Chancellor Lu demanded. Xantair looked to the floor, reluctant. The Thian Empire was merely a pawn in a game far greater than you can imagine. There are entities out there, old, powerful beings who have been manipulating civilizations across the galaxy for centuries. They know of the technology you've developed, the power you've unlocked. And they will stop at nothing to control it. Evelyn stood up, her voice firm. "Who are they?" Xantair lifted his head, his eyes meeting hers with a somber understanding. "I don't know their names. But I know they are coming. And you won't be able to fight them with the technology you've just developed. They are not like the Thians. They are something different." A chill ran down Evelyn's spine. The Thian Empire had been a threat, yes. But now, it seemed they were only the beginning. Whoever these beings were, their arrival would bring with it a new kind of war, one that would stretch beyond Earth and into the very fabric of space itself. "We have to prepare," Evelyn said, her voice filled with determination. "We have to make sure we're ready. The war isn't over. It's just beginning." The council members nodded solemnly. The victory over the Thians had been hard won, but the real test had yet to come. As humanity set its sights on the future, one thing was clear: the dawn of a new era had arrived, but it would not be without its own trials and tribulations. Earth was no longer the isolated, vulnerable planet it had once been. It was now a beacon in the universe, a symbol of resilience, and a target for those who would seek to destroy it. The battle for survival had not ended, it had simply taken on a new, more formidable form. And as humanity prepared for the unknown, one thing was certain: they would face it together. The threat that loomed over Earth had shifted from something tangible, like the Thian Empire, to something far more insidious, an ancient and unseen force, pulling strings from the shadows of the galaxy. Humanity had tasted victory, but the cost of that victory was becoming increasingly apparent. The galaxy was far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined, and Earth's place in it was far from secure. Evelyn Cross paced back and forth in the command center of the Ascended, her mind racing. The news from Xantair had shaken her, but there was no time to dwell on it. The council was already at work, trying to piece together what little information they had about the mysterious beings that Xantair spoke of. "Do we know anything more about these factions?" she asked, her voice calm but firm, addressing the team of scientists and analysts who had been working tirelessly since the council meeting. Dr. Naya Alvarado, a leading astrophysicist, looked up from her console. The threat that loomed over Earth had shifted from something tangible, like the Thian Empire, to something far more insidious, an ancient and unseen force, pulling strings from the shadows of the galaxy. Humanity had tasted victory, but the cost of that victory was becoming increasingly apparent. The galaxy was far more complex and dangerous than they had ever imagined, and Earth's place in it was far from secure. Evelyn Cross paced back and forth in the command center of the Ascended, her mind racing. The news from Xantair had shaken her, but there was no time to dwell on it. The council was already at work, trying to piece together what little information they had about the mysterious beings that Xantair spoke of. "Do we know anything more about these factions?" she asked, her voice calm but firm, addressing the team of scientists and analysts who had been working tirelessly since the council meeting. Dr. Naya Alvarado, a leading astrophysicist, looked up from her console. "We've been combing through all available data, Commander. The Thian Empire was one of many attempts to control the galaxy, but there's no record of the other factions Xantair mentioned. All we know is that they are older, more powerful, and operate on a level far beyond anything we've encountered before. Their presence is felt, but not understood." Lieutenant Harker, standing nearby, spoke up. Are we certain this isn't just paranoia? Xantier's been through a lot, and the war has left its mark on all of us. I don't think so, Evelyn replied, her eyes steely. There's something in his words that doesn't ring false. And if he's right, we're not just dealing with a military threat. We're dealing with a power that wants to control the very fabric of space and time itself. We can't afford to ignore it. The room fell silent as the weight of her words settled in. Earth had barely survived the Thian onslaught, and now they were learning that the true battle was not just for survival, but for freedom. For autonomy. We've been so focused on fighting wars on Earth, said Dr. Alvarado, her voice quiet but intense. But the real battle might be out there, in the far reaches of the galaxy, where no one can hear you scream. Evelyn's eyes darkened. If what Xantier said is true, we're facing something far worse than a military invasion. We're facing an ideological war. These factions, whatever they are, don't just want to conquer Earth. They want to reshape the galaxy according to their vision. They want control, not just over humanity, but over all sentient life. I agree, Harker said, nodding. It's not just about Earth anymore. The whole galaxy could be at stake. We need to act quickly, Evelyn said. And we need to be smart. We can't go in blind like we did with the Thians. We need to understand who we're up against, how they think, how they operate. As the team worked, Evelyn's mind drifted back to the moment she had shared with Xantier. There had been something in his eyes, a mix of fear and urgency, that made her believe he wasn't lying. The Thians had been a force to be reckoned with, but Xantier had known them from the inside. If he was afraid of what was coming, then it was something humanity needed to prepare for. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, in the vast unknown, a shadow stirred. The factions that Xantier spoke of were indeed ancient and powerful, but they were also secretive. They operated in the darkness, watching, waiting. They had seen the rise of the Thian Empire and its fall, and they had been watching Earth for centuries. They knew that Earth's technological advancements, especially the quantum phase shifters, were the key to unlocking an entirely new level of power, a power that could potentially rival their own. The leader of one such faction, an entity known only as Cadrine, watched the Earth from the depths of space. Its form was not human, not even close to any known life form. It existed beyond conventional understanding, a being of pure thought and energy. Its presence was felt by those who were sensitive to the currents of the universe, but no one had ever seen it in the flesh. We must take action, Cadrine murmured, its voice a low, vibrating hum that seemed to resonate in the very air. The humans have awakened a power that could rival us. They have no idea what they've unleashed. The entity extended its tendrils of influence toward Earth, its mind probing the fabric of reality itself. It could feel the pulse of the quantum technologies that had been developed, vibrations in the quantum fields that signaled an opening. The time was near. And Cadrine was ready to act. Back on Earth, the preparation for the coming conflict had begun in earnest. The Global Peace Forum was now a hub of activity, with diplomats, scientists, and military leaders from all over the world coming together to plan Earth's next steps. There was no more time to be divided by borders or old conflicts. The factions beyond their world had no interest in the petty squabbles that had once divided humanity. It was a new world, and the old ways of thinking had no place in it. We need to work together, President Taylor said, standing at the head of the council. This is not just about Earth. This is about the future of the galaxy. And we need to be prepared for what's coming. A hush fell over the room as the leaders of the world exchanged looks of shared understanding. They had no choice but to unite, to combine their strengths and resources. The advanced technologies that had been developed for war would now be used for something greater, the survival of all sentient beings. Commander Cross, said Chancellor Liu, turning to Evelyn. We need your leadership. You've proven yourself in battle. Now, we need you to lead us into this new era. We need you to guide us in the fight against whatever these factions are. Evelyn's gaze was steady, her resolve unshaken. We've faced an existential threat before, and we'll do it again. This time, we'll be ready. The final moments of the Thian War had been the culmination of years of conflict, but they had also been a turning point for humanity. The galaxy was no longer a distant, unfathomable place. It was a part of their reality now, a reality that was far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The factions that Xantier had spoken of were not mere conquerors. They were something far older, far more complex. and they would stop at nothing to control Earth and all who dared to challenge them. As the storm of the coming conflict began to stir, Evelyn stood at the precipice of the unknown, her heart steeled against the trials ahead. The fight for survival had just begun. The fate of the galaxy would depend on humanity's ability to adapt, to evolve, and to face the gathering storm with unwavering courage. And so, as Earth prepared for the challenge of its life, the final question remained: would humanity rise to meet the darkness, or would it fall under its weight? The battle against the Thian Empire had been a defining moment in human history, one that tested Earth's resilience and forged an unbreakable unity among its people. But as Evelyn Cross and her team uncovered, the true challenges lay ahead. Zontair's warning about ancient, shadowy factions proved to be far more than just a paranoid rambling. These beings, older and far more powerful than anything humanity had ever encountered, were not merely conquerors, they were the architects of reality itself, determined to shape the galaxy in their image. The galaxy that once seemed vast and mysterious was now closer than ever, and Earth, once an insignificant world, had become the focal point of a larger cosmic struggle. The quantum technologies developed by humanity, once thought to be a source of power, had attracted the attention of these factions. The race for control had begun. The battle against the Thian Empire had been a defining moment in human history, one that tested Earth's resilience and forged an unbreakable unity among its people. But as Evelyn Cross and her team uncovered, the true challenges lay ahead. Zontair's warning about ancient, shadowy factions proved to be far more than just a paranoid rambling. These beings, older and far more powerful than anything humanity had ever encountered, were not merely conquerors, they were the architects of reality itself, determined to shape the galaxy in their image. The galaxy that once seemed vast and mysterious was now closer than ever, and Earth, once an insignificant world, had become the focal point of a larger cosmic struggle. The quantum technologies developed by humanity, once thought to be a source of power, had attracted the attention of these factions. The race for control had begun. As Earth prepared for a new war, one not just of soldiers, but of ideologies, of survival against an unseen force, the future of the galaxy hung in the balance. With the leadership of Commander Evelyn Cross and the collective strength of humanity, Earth would fight not just for its own survival, but for the future of all sentient life. But the road ahead was fraught with uncertainty. The factions, with their ancient wisdom and unfathomable power, had already begun their movement in the shadows. Would humanity rise to meet the challenge? Would the bonds forged in the heat of war be enough to stand against the coming storm? The battle for Earth's future was just beginning, and the galaxy watched with bated breath as humanity prepared for its greatest test yet. The dawning of a new era had arrived, and Earth had no choice but to fight for its place in it, against forces it could barely understand, in a war that would shape the fate of all. In the end, it was not just about survival. It was about what humanity could become.